Do we really need scale sequences? And if yes, which ones should I practice? So here's the dilemma. You want to get better at your improvisation, and you know that we need scales to improvise. At least that's what they taught you in school. And so you go and take your favorite scales and you just run them up and down in patterns, right? And you think when you practice the scale patterns, you just will get better at improvisations. But guess what? Suddenly your improvisations start to sound like scale patterns. Does that sound familiar? Have you been in that situation? Well, today in this episode, I want to give you some clarity on what to actually practice. And I want to show you one super cool scale sequence that's actually highly useful and modifiable in many different applications, because my perspective is whatever you learn, the most important part is that you are able to implement it in your solos. You don't want to be stuck with something unmusical that you cannot use. But why should you be listening to me? Hey, my name is Ulrich Ellison. I've been a pro performer, guitarist for almost 25 years now. And I've played all across the world. And I'm also the founder of Total Guitar Transformation, where at our academy, I help intermediate and advanced guitarists to reach their fullest potential of expression on electric guitar. So I'm sharing with you here some of the principles that we teach our students that have helped me in my own journey, and also hundreds of students, and chances are it's also going to help you. All right, so let's get started. So let's talk about scales really quick. What are scales really? Because I've been attacked before by other guitar players when I say don't play scales or don't think in scales, which for me, it's very clear that, when I improvise, I'm not spending any time thinking of scales like, and now I'm going to play the A Dorian scale. Never in my mind do I have those thoughts. And also, I don't believe that any of the great improvisers that we strive to be on their level, ask a Jeff Beck or ask even a Steve Lukather. Do you really think that he thinks of a scale while he plays? I really don't think so. Huh? And so, to me, I wanna explain this with a metaphor. Huh? Imagine we're baking a cake, right? Imagine improvising is like baking a cake, and we need some ingredients. Huh? And of course, we're gonna need what we're gonna need. We're gonna need flour. We're gonna need water, probably some eggs. I'm not an expert in cake baking. But let's say flour, yeah? We definitely need flour. Well, our scales are like the flour. Of course, without the flour, we have a hard time making a good cake, yeah? But most guitarists think that the flour is already the cake. That's really the problem. And try to eat the flour without anything else on it. Does that demonstrate what I'm trying to get across here? So, you gotta bake the cake. You gotta use the flour to bake the cake. And my point is that there's too much time spent on trying to make the flour or working on the flour instead of taking the flour and actually starting to bake. So in that sense, let's get baking. So I want to first show you the one sequence that I ran across early on that I think that a lot of guitar players are stuck with as far as the pentatonic scale go. Let's see if you recognize this one. Yeah, that's it. It sounds so beginnerish. I don't know if you hear it too that way, but it just doesn't have a musical vibe. Yeah? Especially if you play it in triplets, then it's really horrible. Yeah? If you play da ga da da ga da da ga da da, maybe a little better if you play in 8th notes or 16th notes. But this sequence is such a job buster to get to play fast in alternate picking. That was one of the reasons I felt like my technique sucked. There was just, this sequence was so hard to play. Yeah? So this is just one example of what I would consider an unmusical sequence that doesn't really help you playing. It just builds muscle memory that you don't need, and it makes it sound worse instead of better. Yeah? I'm not judging, you know. If you like the sequence, please feel free to use it. Maybe I just haven't figured out how to use it in the right way. But even better now, I want to show you one of my favorite pentatonic sequences that I think are highly useful, and maybe you will start to hear the difference. Check it out. And what do you think? Can you hear the difference? So this is the famed 6-note sequence that is very convenient for the pentatonic because there's always 2 notes per string. If we look at it in slow motion, we got, and then we got, so it's just got this repeating pattern. This repeating sequence that just keeps on going back a string and then 3 strings forward. That's how I think about it. Yeah. So this sequence is really, really cool, and I'm gonna prove it to you. I'm gonna show you right away how I can implement that over a random backing track that I found, and how I can connect it with some blues phrases and create this kind of progressive modern vibe. Let's listen to it. Oh yeah, can you hear how that works? It's really beautiful. And I think the important part here is that you first get that structure under your fingers and maybe try to play it in different subdivisions. Yeah? So now let's go back to the good old metronome and let's check out some of those subdivisions, because that's really the must do here. With a sequence like this, you know, we want to implement them in different rhythmical structures. Let me show you here. Just get a simple drum groove going, and I'm also using the drone just so we can hear the sequence better. All right, so here we go. So those are 16th notes, yeah? 4 notes per beat, yeah? So let's try 8th notes. That might be a better place to start actually, yeah? So we got... Those are 8th notes. How about 8th note triplets? Let's try that. Okay, 16th notes again. And for those of you who are really brave, here are some 16-note triplets. 3, 4. So yeah, if you cannot do this then you got work to do. Because this sequence only makes sense if you can implement it in different subdivisions. You want to have it versatile. And as you notice too, I was playing the sequence all over the fretboard, not just in one position, but I'm actually sweeping up and down on each position. We got 5 positions, so I'm playing 1 downwards towards the floor, downwards, upwards, downwards, upwards, downwards. And you should be able to play any of the positions downwards and upwards. It goes without saying. Yes, so let's see how we can take some lines like this, overdrone again, and I'm just going to do this without a metronome now, because now we want to work on our landing spots. You want to be able to play one scale idea, one sequence idea, and land it on a nice lick or on a bent note, because that's the musical application that we really need. Just knowing the scale pattern by itself is not going to really give us results. All right, let's check that out. No metronome, like I said, and just the drone. You can do this at a slower tempo. Tempo really doesn't matter so much, huh? That was nice. So. Cool, so. See how there's a little motivic idea going on? Do you see how I was using that as a run now? Run idea? Or so in our TGT Academy, we call this sequence fluid pentatonics. And that's really what it is. It's such a great picking pattern that allows you to play these fluid cascading runs that mix so well with blues phrases, really. Yeah, so one more thing. You don't have to alternate pick all the notes. If you can, that's great. And you can also experiment with starting on a downstroke versus starting with an upstroke, but maybe that's a topic for another lesson. But you can also play it legato. Let's try that. What happens if we just pick one note per string? So that would look something like this. Right? So that's another cool thing to experiment with, is just, legato. And maybe also a little bit of hybrid picking. I don't know if you saw it, but I was also using some hybrid picking. So when I play my actual scale runs that are not consisting just out of this sequence, but they mix in some other notes and back and forth, I actually use quite a bit of hybrid picking. Yeah? And this allows me to get a smoother sound and have this legato sound, but it's more versatile. Yeah? So if I play, all right, awesome. So what I really want to show you is how much practical sweetness and musicality you can pull out of just one sequence. Instead of learning all these scale patterns and practicing just mindlessly, why don't you take this one scale pattern and try to make it part of your solos and lines? That's my suggestion to you. That's what I'm doing with our students at TGT Academy, and the results are amazing. There's other applications with these patterns that I cannot cover in this lesson. You know, there's a whole abundance of harmonic possibilities, how you can use this in a harmonic sense. But first, just get this under your fingers, practice it diligently. It's also going to help your picking technique. And then try to put it into your lines and start to connect it with your blues phrasing, basically. Yeah? You might have noticed already, it might already have crossed your mind, you know, these sequences are very similar to what guys like Eric Johnson are using, and Joe Bonamassa, Eric Gales, that are very much influenced by Eric Johnson. I mean, Eric Johnson is really the one who turned me on to these cascading pentatonic phrases. And there's a reason that he can play them so fast. You know, he's fantastic. He's a fantastic guitarist. That's the main reason. But it's also that they lay really well on guitar, and they give you a nice musical effect, basically. Yeah? Cool. I hope you enjoyed this lesson today, and it gave you a new approach to follow. If you like these teaching methods that are a little bit different and a little bit more hands-on than what you usually see on YouTube, then check out the link down below there. I made a video for people who are really serious and committed to level up their playing. It's only going to be 5% of people watching this, but that's cool because I cannot work with everyone, and I just want to work with those people who are really hungry to get their lead guitar playing to this fluid, awesome melodic level. If that is you, click on the link below and send me a message. Cheers. Oh, and I totally forgot. Watch this video here. This is also going to help you in a major way.